So the chatter on the internet is that the base iPhone 17 is so good this year that the Pixel 10 and the Galaxy S25 don't stand a chance. But honestly, that's just some spec talk. We've done some real testing here at Trakin Tech English. So presenting to you the comparison of the year, where we compare the best base flagships from Samsung, Apple and Google. Alright, let's not waste any more time and get right down to it. And I'll give you my answer in the end, which is going to be interesting. Alright, if you're watching me for the first time, I'm Ishan. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Now starting with the design, I'd say that all these three phones look like previous generation phones. The Pixel 10 looks like the Pixel 9, the iPhone 17 looks like the iPhone 16, the Galaxy S25 looks like the Galaxy S24. But if you look at it, the Pixel 10's design is the best of the lot, or at least that's what I think, because I do like that camera visor design and it is pretty attractive. But the Pixel 10 is also the heaviest of the three, considering that these are compact phones. Now this is something that would matter to a lot of people. In comparison, the S25 is the lightest and the thinnest of all the three, and the iPhone 17 is somewhere in between. All these three phones are also IP68 certified, but with the iPhone, you can actually dip it to up to 6 meters for 30 minutes, whereas with the Samsung and Pixel, you can only do it for 1.5 meters. So that's a little bit of a technical advantage. Now with the iPhone 17, you also have the upgraded ceramic shield to protection, and it has held up really well in our time with the phone. In the initial week of usage with the iPhone 16, the previous iPhone 16, it got scratched up really badly, which is not true for the iPhone 17. In fact, Zach in his video with Jerry Rig Everything video, he actually tried to scratch it and it only starts scratching at about level 7. In comparison, the Pixel 10 and the Galaxy S25 come with Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protection, both of which are not as scratch resistant as the ceramic shield 2 protection. However, Samsung and Pixel have an advantage, and that is they have USB 3.2. iPhone still on USB 2.0. And on the flip side, once again, with the iPhone, you have two extra buttons, the action button and the camera control button. And like I've said, I like the action button. You can remap it to whatever you want it to be. But with the camera control button, I only detest it. I have no other word to say for it, because it comes in the way of shooting pictures every single time. So I switch it off all the time. Every single time an iPhone comes in for review now, since the iPhone 16 and now the iPhone 17. Yeah, so I switch it off. So if you ask me, overall Pixel has the best design. iPhone has slightly better functionality with the action button, but that's about it. You can pick one of the three as your choice. Design is pretty subjective if you ask me. By the way, I'm going to be comparing the displays next. However, before we do that, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us, will you? Please, because we've been putting out a lot of effort and getting all of the iPhone content and the sale content out on time, so we'd love your support. Now on to the displays. The Pixel and the iPhone have a 6.3 inch display, whereas the Samsung has a slightly smaller 6.2 inch display. Now all of these are of course based on OLED technology, have 120Hz refresh rate as well, yes, including the iPhone. But brightness wise, when we took it outdoors, Pixel 10 was the brightest of the three, followed by the iPhone and Samsung both in second spot. But honestly, it's like a very tiny difference that you can't tell in daily life. Even with respect to color tuning, iPhone and Samsung are almost nearly similar, and Pixel is slightly on the cooler side, but again, all three are pretty good. Now HDR gradation, however, is the best on the iPhone, with extremely good details in the highlights and the shadows. Without crashing the shadows, it showcases really good HDR content. Now one of the reasons for that is plain and simple, is that iPhone supports Dolby Vision, whereas Pixel and Samsung do HDR10+. And you know what, Dolby Vision actually has a wider color gamut support, and it just looks overall better compared to Pixel and Samsung. Now we also tested out the speakers, and Pixel's speakers this year are fantastic. They're the loudest, they're the cleanest and the clearest as well. Not that the iPhone is bad, the iPhone's also really good, comes very close, but both Pixel and iPhone are definitely better than Samsung. Take a listen to it for yourself. Now, since the Pixel and Samsung are Android phones, you actually get an ultrasonic in-display fingerprint scanner on both. They're pretty fast to unlock, nothing really separating the two in terms of performance. Whereas with the iPhone, what you get is Face ID for face unlock. That is something that you guys are already aware of. Haptics on the Pixel is the best. It's just pure chef's kiss. Insane stuff. Second best would be the iPhone, and followed by Samsung at last. If you're somebody like me who uses a pair of truly wireless earbuds with support for LHDC or LDAC codecs, then it would be better to stick to the Android options and not go for iPhone, because iPhone doesn't believe, or Apple doesn't believe in, high-res Bluetooth codecs. Now on to the performance, and with the iPhone, what you get, the iPhone 17, what you get is the new A19 chip. The Galaxy S25 has Snapdragon 8 Elite, and with the Pixel, what you get is Tensor G5. Now, before I get to the benchmarks and the performance discussion, I am just taking the Pixel 10 out of the equation, because the Tensor G5 is in no way, according to me, even today, even if it's moved to the TSMC 3nm fabrication process, it's not good enough. It doesn't match up to its competition. So it's the worst performer of the lot. Now, between the iPhone and the Samsung, it's a bit of a close fight, especially with Geekbench. If you look at it, iPhone has a higher single core score, Samsung has a higher multi-core score. Yes, I expected the A19 to have a higher multi-core score, but that's not really happening this year. It's actually lower than the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and with the 8 Elite Gen 5 or whatever is launching next, or 8 Elite 2 Gen 5, I think that Snapdragon might have a bigger lead this year. And even with GPU performance, when we compared the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme stress test, the best loop score or the FPS was actually higher on the S25 compared to the iPhone 17. But the iPhone 17 runs more stable and doesn't get as hot as Samsung does. Because in Genshin Impact, you can play the game at 60 FPS right now on the iPhone 17. Technically, it should be able to do 120 FPS because Genshin is unlocked at 120 FPS only on iPhones. But that update hasn't come yet to the iPhone 17. But that should happen sometime sooner. But anyway, we tested out and both are at around 59.9, 59.8 FPS. Very, very good average FPS you get with both. But if you were to play the game for longer than what we did, which is basically 30 minutes, if you were to play it for like say about an hour or 2 hours, then I'm fairly certain that the iPhone will hold performance better than Samsung, and it will also not get hot as Samsung does. It's not to say that the Galaxy S25 gets unbearably hot or anything. It's just that the device temperature is slightly higher on the S25 compared to the 17. It's not just the A19's performance that is A grade, but the A19's power efficiency is A++ grade. Because despite having the smallest battery of all the three phones right now in front of you, the iPhone 17 gives you the best battery efficiency. The kind of tuning is crazy. We got 8 hours of screen on time with the iPhone 17, which is obviously great. And with the Samsung Galaxy S25, we got about 6 to 6.5 hours of screen on time. With the Pixel 10, we got 5.5 hours of screen on time with about 13% left, so you can expect about 6 to 6.5 hours as well. So Pixel 10 and Galaxy S25, similar kind of efficiency numbers, but the iPhone 17 beats them handily. Now with the iPhone 17, you also have faster charging speeds now of 40 watt, but you need to get the Apple Dynamic Power Adapter for you to be able to achieve those speeds, because normal USB PD chargers like the one that we use, the Nothing charger, it charges at about say 33, 34, 37 watts at the top, so it takes about 1 or 10 minutes to completely charge the iPhone 17. But with the 40 watt dynamic charger, which is unfortunately not available in India right now, it should charge faster. And the Pixel 10 and the Galaxy S25 take about 1 hour 30 minutes for a full charge. Now all the three also do support wireless charging, but with S25 it's Qi 2 wireless charging, with the Pixel 10 it's Qi 2.2, and with the Apple it's MagSafe, which is basically a variant of Qi 2.2 as well. So with Pixel 10 and with the iPhone 17, you actually get magnetic attachment compatibility, which means that you can use a wireless charging puck, attach it magnetically to the back of the phone, or wireless power banks as well. Now finally, with the network performance, all these three are like fantastic flagships. I really don't have anything to complain. Even with the Pixel 10 this year, by the way, the modem's working really good. So you get excellent 5G, excellent Wi-Fi, you get excellent NFC, all of that is there, no problem. But one thing I noticed with the Pixel 10 is that, and it's a very unique problem that I noticed, is that the top speaker is so loud that you really cannot have the earpiece at maximum volume because it can damage your ear. Now this year with the iPhone 17, you've got upgraded cameras as well. The ultrawide firstly has been upgraded to a 48 megapixel fusion camera, and the front camera is now that center stage 18 megapixel camera. But unlike the Pixel and the Samsung, you do not get a telephoto camera, which could be a disadvantage for the iPhone. But anyway, let's just take a look at the pictures. Now while shooting with the primary camera, the iPhone 17 outputs 24 megapixel images. Therefore it has the most amount of details like always. But what surprised me the most was the fact that the Pixel 10 managed to pull in more details than the Galaxy S25 despite having a smaller sensor. At 2x, again, iPhone still leads, then it's Galaxy S25, then Pixel. At 3x, the Galaxy S25 clearly pulls ahead of the two, followed by iPhone 17 and then the Pixel, because of course Samsung has a dedicated 3x lens. But beyond 3x, if you want to shoot at say 5x or 10x or 20x, then definitely Pixel takes the lead here. Now take a look at the colors captured by all the three here, and you will notice that the iPhone is closest to natural, if slightly warm. Pixel is slightly desaturated. It is also again pretty good in terms of color reproduction. Samsung just pops a little too much. Now while shooting friends and family, Samsung Galaxy S25 gets the right skin tone, followed by the Pixel and iPhone. For some reason this year iPhone tends to make the skin tones look pretty odd, especially in the default standard photographic style. style, which was something that, we didn't expect at all, because last year the skin tones were really close to natural. Regardless, with the iPhone, you do get photographic styles, which is pretty useful, and a lot of people actually do like using it. And this year they've introduced a bright photographic style, which actually brightens the face a lot. Not really a fan of it, honestly. In HDR, I think Pixel is the best, then the iPhone, and then the Galaxy S25. Now, if you like shooting portraits, then you cannot beat Samsung, because it gets strand level separation, and you also get a dedicated 3x portrait camera, so it really looks good. The Pixel does not use the 5x camera for portraits for I don't know what goddamn reason, and the Pixel's edge detection and generally the bokeh drop-off is very poor. iPhone would be my second pick here. By the way, interestingly, after the update, the Galaxy S25 now has the option to shoot 5x portraits as well. Of course, it's digitally cropped, but doesn't look half bad, by the way. While shooting in low light with all the three, Samsung's nightography does the best processing here, followed by the iPhone's night mode and the Pixel 10's night mode. I think honestly, night mode shots are good on all the three. The only problem with the iPhone is that iPhone and Pixel both, is that they tend to crush the shadows a little too much. But since the iPhone has like a large sensor and it does 24 megapixel outputs, the details are better on the iPhone compared to Samsung. The biggest advantage with the iPhone now is that 48 megapixel fusion ultra wide angle camera, so therefore you get 24 megapixel outputs, and the ultra wide shots in daylight have the most amount of detail on the iPhone. Samsung and Pixel follow in second position. But in low light, Pixel just breaks apart completely. Not really a fan of the shot that Pixel managed to capture here. Samsung and iPhone are pretty good. Samsung is the brighter one, iPhone has more details. Now, while shooting selfies, all three are good, but while taking a closer look, the iPhone 17's 18 megapixel output renders the most details, followed by Samsung and then Pixel. But if you want the 18 megapixel output, ensure that you're shooting a wide angle shot and not a cropped one, because the cropped one shoots 7 megapixel. It's actually captured in 7 megapixels. In low light, the iPhone shoots the best selfies, followed by Samsung and then Pixel. Pixel does some kind of over processing, which I'm not really a fan of. Now, in HDR selfies, the iPhone's HDR processing is superior to the other two, but between the Pixel and Samsung, both are similar. There's not much of a difference, honestly, if you ask me. Now, talking about selfie portraits, the iPhone shoots the best with the perfect semantic segmentation, followed by Samsung and Pixel. By the way, all the three can shoot macro photos, but the difference is that the iPhone and the Pixel do it with the ultra wide, whereas with Samsung, you need to use a 3x telephoto lens. Now, while comparing all the three, Samsung's shot was the best, followed by the iPhone and then the Pixel. Talking about shooting videos, the iPhone 17 hands down shoots the best video, followed by Samsung and Pixel.
Alright, so this video is shot using the iPhone 16 versus the Galaxy S25 and the Pixel 10. So you guys let me know how is the video quality, stabilization and audio quality.
Even with the ultra wide angle camera, the story remains the same. iPhone is the best, followed by Samsung and then Pixel. And when you want to zoom, then I think that the zoom quality or the smoothness of the zoom in the camera app is the best on the iPhone. Obviously, that's still not matched by the Android competition out there. However, if you're looking at the quality of the zoom performance, the Pixel 10 is the best, followed by the iPhone. Again, selfie videos, if you take a look at it, iPhone is the best, followed by Samsung and Pixel. In low light, it's the same again. iPhone is the best, followed by Samsung and Pixel. By the way, all the three can shoot HDR videos. iPhone shoots Dolby Vision HDR, Samsung Galaxy S25 can do HDR 10 Plus, and Pixel 10 can do HLG. But unlike the Samsung and iPhone, which can shoot at 4K 60 FPS HDR videos, Pixel does only 4K 30 FPS. If you want really good stabilization and if you want to use the action mode, then the iPhone's action mode is just incredible. Samsung has the super steady mode, which is not as good as the iPhone, but it still matches it. Pixel doesn't have anything of that sort. And even if you want to shoot cinematic video, again, iPhone's the best, followed by Samsung and then the Pixel. So overall, if you look at it, while the iPhone 17 doesn't have a telephoto camera, it has the best camera performance right now of all the three phones, followed by the Samsung and then the Pixel. Alright, finally, software experience. It's again like comparing apples to Androids or oranges. I make this joke often. Anyway, with the iPhone, what you get is iOS 26 right out of the box, and Apple will generally give you easily about 5 to 6 years of support, software support basically. With Samsung, you got One UI 7 out of the box, but One UI 8 update is around the corner or probably already here. And apart from that, Samsung is also promising 7 years of operating system updates, which is also true for the Pixel, by the way, which runs Pixel UI or Pixel Experience on top of Android 16 now. Pixel's design language is Material 3 Expressive, iOS is Liquid Glass. Both are very polarizing design languages. Some people like it, some people don't. I like Liquid Glass, I like Material 3 Expressive. All are pretty cool if you ask me. They're modern designs, so I don't really have a problem with it. Of course, One UI 8's design is also modern in a certain way, but One UI 8's biggest advantage is that customization is insane on it, especially with good lock, which is something that I really love, by the way. Also, the animation tuning that you get with One UI 8 and good lock module is going to be the best of the three for sure. But Apple does go completely bonkers with the liquid glass, the way it moves around in the UI elements itself. So yeah, I like One UI 8 and iOS 26 best for animations, followed by Pixel. But for AI, Apple Intelligence is very weak at the moment. Not really its strong suit. Siri with better intelligence is not here yet. So yeah, AI wise, I think Pixel and Samsung do a really good job. But again, between Pixel and Samsung would be the best. Galaxy AI has a bunch of features that are already available for you to use, and they're all really useful as well. Live interpreter, real-time translation that happens. You can use, of course, writing tools, which is available on all the three. And you also do get cool stuff like, Sketch to AI or generative edits. All of those things are very useful on Samsung. And apart from that, you also get Google specific AI features like Circle to Search and Gemini, which is of course also available on the Pixel 10, and something that I cannot live without now, and something that I really use a lot these days, which is basically Circle to Search and Gemini. Now with Google, you do have a few additional Pixel specific AI features. For example, the new one is Camera Coach and Magic Cube. And one more thing is that Pixel's, a lot of the AI features which are supposed to come to many regions is not there in India yet. So yeah, so I feel like Samsung does AI best at the moment. So overall, my choice of best software experience, personal choice by the way, it could vary, is One UI 8 number 1, iOS 26 number 2, and Pixel last. Now why would I say Pixel is last? Because if it has better AI features than Apple Intelligence, is purely because Pixel is very buggy at the moment. I've been daily driving the Pixel 10 Pro XL and the fingerprint scanner fails a lot, unfortunately. So at the start, I'd mentioned that everybody thinks that the iPhone 17 beats out the Galaxy S25 and the Pixel 10, hands down. I wouldn't say it beats it hands down, but I'd say that it would be my pick among three for sure. So I do agree with everybody on that part, because right now the 256GB variant is available with discounts for about 78,000 rupees, and it offers a very holistic package. And more importantly, the Android fans now cannot say that, oh, it only has a 60Hz display. It actually does have a 120Hz display, a very bright display no less. It has the best battery performance. It has the most consistent camera performance as well. The overall performance is also really good, along with the A19 chip. So yeah, it's a very easy recommendation for me. But my second pick would be the Galaxy S25, followed by the Pixel 10. I hope that makes it easy for you to make a decision, and you guys should let me know what are you going to pick in the comments. Also, do share this video for anybody who's looking for, iPhone 17 versus Galaxy S25 or versus Pixel 10, because this video can probably help them out. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.